Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Uncorked with Funny Wine Girl. This is Funny Wine Girl, aka Janine Luby. And you know that I like to say at the top of the podcast every week how I know my guest, how I got to know them. Maybe there's someone I know in person, maybe there's someone I'm meeting virtually for the first time. And the reason I like to do that, I know you're probably thinking, like, Janine, you're sounding like a broken record, but I don't care. I like to take the opportunity each week to promote the idea of being open and just wanting to connect with people, to learn, to share your gifts, to be able to help others. Whether you're out at a business card mixer and you exchange cards and you're like, oh, I don't know if I'll ever need this service. Save the card. Remember the person. You never know where you can show up for one another. Or, even being out at your kids, whether it's a soccer game or something, and you're chit chatting. We have this opportunity to connect with one another as humans, and I think it's just so important. So my guest this week, and I've had this occasion before, you've heard me say, where I might see an account on Facebook or Instagram and I start following and I'm like, wow, I really like what they're all about. So that's the case for this week. I was following on Instagram the I'm Fine project, and I won't talk about what it is because I would rather my guests tell you what it's about, but my interpretation or my impression, beautiful art that was done as masks, and it's to help mental health, mental healing. And I loved it. As anyone who knows me knows that I do media relations work for NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness here in the Northeast PA. So I'm getting more and more well versed, I guess you could say, in that. And I'm a real advocate for mental health and for healing. So when I saw what they were doing, I'm like, I really love this and I wanted to learn more. So I have the co-creators here today of the I'm Fine project. I have Maureen Joyce and Carrie Breschi. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon.
Thank you, Janine.
Thank you. And thank you for the work you do. That's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I love I have a journalism degree, so, and I also do laughter yoga. I have a business called Laugh to Live. So that has been helpful in healing as well. Like, I've worked with the Scranton Counseling Center, so people with mental health issues who've really been able to kind of like let go with the breathing and the laughing and the connection. So I'm kind of, I guess you could say, my radar is on when I see things like this and I'm instantly drawn to them. So that's what I think it was on Instagram. I'm like, I saw your post and I'm like, this is cool. I want to learn more.
Yeah. Thank you for following us. Yeah.
That's great to hear. Absolutely. What resonates with me and just your introduction, Janine, is not, Carrie and I always used to say, you just never know. When you meet someone, like you mentioned about holding onto those business cards. And honestly, we never knew that we were going to be in this position to talk about this topic. We never would have guessed it looking back, I don't know, 10 years ago at all. So that resonates really strong with me when you say that, to hold on to those business cards, because it's a beautiful thought.
Well, and I think what I love too about life is sometimes the uncertainty, which I know can be really frightening for a lot of people, but the not knowing or the uncertainty, like you just said, you wouldn't have imagined this 10 years ago. I think that's one of the beautiful things in life where it's like, wow, I never would have guessed I'd be doing this. But that just means that there's amazing possibilities that could be coming, in the future, which I think is wonderful. Yeah. So tell me a little bit. So we have Carrie and Maureen. I would love to, before we start talking about the project, how you got together, what it's all about, the value of art. Do you mind just sharing a little bit about yourselves first?
Go
Sure.
first, Carrie.
Sure. I'll go
We'll
first.
start with Carrie then. Okay.
Okay. So my life always revolved around the arts. Even as a little girl, I utilized the arts to tell my own stories, to keep myself busy. And I just assumed everyone did that. When I went to college, it was English and studio art. And then I got out and I realized, oh, wow, this is not universal. Everyone, most people think the arts are there as a hobby, that it's just something you do not as a vocation, but it's something you do as a hobby. Oh, those people that are into the arts, those people that we ask for 1,000 things, but they never get anything, monetarily back for it. So when I came to Carlisle, they were getting ready to, which is where we reside, where we started the I'm Fine project. And they were getting ready to to shut the doors on the Arts Center, that they weren't getting enough support. And so I thought, who has used art as a tool my whole life, I said, I think I can't live in a community without the arts. And so I took on being the executive director of Carlisle Arts Learning Center, and the journey has been amazing. And the Arts Center has made a difference in the community, economically, energetically, just as a way for the community to grow. And I believe in this idea that the arts can make a difference. And so I went back to school for community engaged arts, which about 10 years ago was a whole catchphrase, community engagement. What is that? And I talked to Mojo about it, and that is really my mission now, is to use the arts as a tool to provide healthier communities. And it's what we do, which will morph into how I'm Fine started.
Yes.
But Mojo, give your story.
My story.
I love your nickname, by the way, Mojo.
That was a gift from my friend here, who knows me so well.
Maureen Joyce, Mojo, and she's got it. So
well, I appreciate Carrie is a rock star. Let's be real. She has made such a difference in the Carlisle community, which I live in currently. Hadn't maybe 10 years or so, but when I met Carrie, she was like floating through the art center, and I had just come in from somewhere. We were trying to find a home, and I just saw this person, knowing had no idea that eventually that would be my partner in the project that we're doing now. But I am a mom, an artist, a teacher, and a wife, and I was teaching art for people who had different abilities, running art programs for people with disabilities originally, because my son Patrick, he needed purpose in life, and we have a behavioral health center that's near our home that needed an art program. So I started our program there and brought Pat in, and we did our work together. He was very much into it until he wasn't. And then at some point, I was, just busy with his life, because Pat is one of my 3 children. He has suffered with mental health struggles all of his life. And he began to start going downhill, as people often say that term, at that point. And lo and behold, I guess maybe 2 years into it, Pat took his life. That has been 7 years now for us.
I'm so
They
sorry.
say completed life. That's a term that's people use. So in that experience, I wasn't able to do any of those roles that I had done. And I'm sure many people can relate to this. You're just not the same person when you have that trauma. But it wasn't until I was finally able to go back out into my clay studio and literally pound the clay that I started feeling some relief from this heavy feeling that had been part of my life for over a year before I was able to do that. And so my next step was to go and see my friend Carrie, who was running the art center that I relied on when I first moved to town. It was my go-to for sure. And we started talking about, I told her how I felt like I had to wear a mask wherever I went now, because I'm not the happy person that people were used to meeting and seeing. And we discussed what that meant. And we then came up with an idea of, what if we created masks with other people that talked about the mask that you would wear if you're struggling. And I think that's the beginning, or the genesis. So that's my side of the story. But
and her story. She's an amazing artist.
Well, it keeps evolving, obviously, our program, but that's where it began, and that's where I'd like to say my coming out has begun too, because even though this has been an absolutely horrible situation, I feel so honored to be able to work with so many people and share some of that relief that I felt that day, and pounding the clay, and just, the arts have brought so many people joy for many different reasons, like it has brought to me in this experience.
Wow, I love what you're saying too, and I know yours is specific to like mental health or your situation, your background, but I feel that this idea has to resonate with so many people. I mean, putting on that mask, how many of us do that every day for a variety of reasons? And I mean, obviously sometimes with a mental health condition, it's much more serious, but and for you as the mom, the caregiver, I mean, trying to, mask our emotions so that, we don't put them on someone else or that we're just pretending to get through the day. I just think that so many people, have you gotten that kind of response that people get it? Like, yeah, I totally get this. I can relate to this.
The minute we say I'm fine, the name of the project,
Right.
I think everyone's hand goes up
Yeah,
and says,
everybody
you know,
nods their head.
everyone,
Yes.
it doesn't matter whether you think you're struggling or if you are struggling or what level you are in your mental health, whether, it resonates with everyone. It's like a light bulb goes off and then they look around and say, oh, wait, I'm not isolated in how I'm feeling. So
Yeah.
yes.
Yes, very
Yes.
much so. I mean, that term, I'm fine. I think it also just people listening to the name of the program has also made them think to themselves how often they say, I'm fine, automatically. You say you're fine, I'm fine. And it just has started that wheel rolling about us expressing or allowing ourselves to show our true selves, our transparent selves.
Yeah. And I love too, like when I was looking at your posts of Instagram, they were absolutely and on your website as well, really beautiful pieces of art. And I'm thinking, oh, art helps heal, but I didn't think of the actual physical, the outlet of, like you said, the pounding. I've never made anything with clay, but I can tell you I'd like to destroy some things many days or do something.
It's not only the pounding, but there are some medically defined reasons why clay can be such a healing tool. And it's because of the dopamine and serotonin that is released in that tactile experience. So now I'm reading, which I had no idea. There's clay therapy now, which I love seeing. I had no idea that's what I've been doing all these years, but it certainly has been what I've been doing. Even prior to my loss of Pat, it's just like processing thoughts just by taking the action of that tactile experience. So it goes beyond just it being, the pounding of the clay, which is really good. And I would love to turn you on to that.
Oh, I think I need it. Honestly, my father has an illness now that we're dealing with these past few months, and as a caregiver with it's been a lot. And I thought I was dealing well with things, and my thing is nature is my remedy. It's like healing. I love hiking. I love going out there and leading laughter for other people. I also do stand up comedy, but I'm not managing it as well as I'm realizing. So I would love to pound something, but I like that there's more to it than that too, as you're saying with the serotonin and the dopamine. I think that's fantastic. Tell me about So I'm Fine project. Tell me about what it is. Like I know there's beautiful art that's created, but tell us about what it is as far as who can go to it. Do you travel with it? Do you take it out to people? Tell us about that.
Really good question. People will look at the mass, much like yourself, and say, wow, that's a lot of artists that have done, created these masks. And yet, uh, we believe everyone is an artist, but not everyone identifies as an artist. And we would say about 90% of the people that we work with do not identify as an artist. They'll say, I can't do it. They go into it really, with anxious thoughts of what do I do? We've worked with everyone from veterans to housing insecure to bank employees, warehouse employees, students, teens, you name it, from
Visually impaired.
visually impaired.
Just so many abilities coming to the table. And what happens is it's not just about the making of the mask, but it's the process that you go through when you're thinking about the symbolism that you want to represent, which is really important. We talk about it a lot. When we have more time, we have different structures of the way we present our work, and we can explain that later. But and sometimes we have a lot of time to go through identifying those symbols, and those symbols that help people think a lot differently about symbols that they see in other art as well as the art that they're making. So you mentioned nature, for instance. We have so many, I don't know if you noticed in any of the maps, but often people, including myself, I love to camp. I'm always out with the campfire. I'm all about that. But who identify with nature is what makes them happy and brings them joy. So that it then can be reflected on the art that they create, or the place that they go to feel better in their mind or in their heart.
Some people
Yeah.
just need, and what we provide is they also need an outlet. And sometimes it's not the spoken word. Sometimes it's not the written word. It's an unconventional way of telling their story and telling it in their own way. And maybe people, they won't think about it the way that the creator thinks about it. Maybe they won't interpret it that way, but that's okay, because they're able to get that story out and in their own way, in a way that is cathartic to them. Or it might just be it needed to come out, right? Or maybe they're in a setting that is safe or with a community, and then they say, wow, I'm not isolated in my feelings. So generally we do create just mass, but we do other work. We believe in art as a tool for telling your story and,
Right.
for articulating your emotions. But really, Janine, it was only going to be one workshop.
That was the plan. That was our plan.
That was it.
Yep.
Only one workshop. It started with the YWCA Girl Power, and that speaks to your podcast. So this group of 13 young women who really had a lot to say, and we wanted them to elevate their conversations about mental health, and to let them know it was okay to talk about it, to talk about mental health as a topic. And that one workshop now is 6 years later. And here we are. How many masks?
We have over 1,800 masks that we have generated with our constituents, and I think about 90 workshops, right, Kara? And many residencies. We've spoken in front of many groups.
And to speak to what you asked us, let's see. We were in York for 8 months.
Yeah.
We were in Pittsburgh for 8 months. We have been to Hershey. We've been to Johnstown. We've been all across the state of Pennsylvania. Schuylkill County. We just had an amazing experience up in Schuylkill County for the last 5 months.
Yes.
Working in 5 different high schools and then doing public exhibits all around the community. It was amazing.
Amazing. And that's something that we haven't talked to you much about, because not only we'll sit, for instance, we'll come into these rooms that are designated to be our space, and they've been every type of space. One was a representative's office at the Capitol. At the Capitol in Harrisburg, which is, it was velvet, and there we were with our clay. Right. It worked well.
Some of the chairs might have been a little pink afterward, but
yeah, some of the breakout sessions that we've done in different conferences that have been in hotels, we've made our mark, let's say, and with the clay in the rooms. But nonetheless, we create this very safe space, and we bring all of the materials that are necessary for the making of the mask. And Carrie and I have the opportunity, depending on the time. Usually they're like about a 2-hour structured period. And we say 2 hours, but for instance, M&T Care.
We're going to call them out, because there were M&T employees. There were about 26 employees who came in and said, oh, I'm so anxious. I don't know if I can do this.
I'm tired. 5 days.
I'm not in all
this, like just all the naysayers. But
and it started at 5:30. They were still there at 10:30 at night, and their masks were absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yes.
So so it can go that long, but typically we don't have that much time, and everybody can't afford that time. But nonetheless, typically that's what the workshop looks like, and we bring in the tools. They create their masks with soft clay that is donated to us by Standard Clay Company in Carnegie, because for many reasons they believe in our project. My son actually used to make clay there, so it's a full circle for us to come back to them, and they support our work. So we have this clay, and then they glaze the clay with what we call underglazes. I don't want to get too technical on you, but essentially what that means is the clay is raw, it's wet, but it can be painted somewhat with this the underglazes were somewhat like an acrylic or a watercolor. And they can use the colors as part of their symbolism. So they get to see a pretty whole picture of their work when they're finished. And then we pack them up for wherever the heck we are and try to keep them from freezing if it's cold out. And then we bring them back to my studio and we fire them up and we return them, or we have in the past exhibited them.
Mm,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, you can tell we like to talk about it.
Yes.
I'm glad. I believe me. There's nothing worse than a guest who's like, yeah, it's a really cool project.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Carrie tell you a little bit more about, I think, which is one of her more favorite parts of the exhibit is installing some of these shows or having.
Oh, well, it's personal. It's really personal because we go back to the schools or we go back to the businesses and we take portraits of the people who have created the mess, and they can decide to show their face. You know, that's being vulnerable.
Mhm.
You know, when you're showing what that mask looks like, and then you're also showing your face in a community where everyone knows you, and it's, you know, 33 by 33 inches on the outside of a building, which is what a lot of our installations are. They're being vulnerable, and they're being willing to talk about this idea of mental health. So we do go back and take these portraits, and then we create these large exhibit installations all around the communities. And that, when we are hanging them, that is our favorite part, because people want to come up and they want to talk to us.
Yeah.
They want to find out what we're doing. They want to say, hey, you know, what's happening in our community, and they want to talk about mental health, and then they start sharing their own
stories.
Mhm.
All
Yeah.
that.
talk about it. They just don't have an outlet.
Mhm.
There's not enough resources.
Yeah. Well, that's for sure.
Yeah, the exhibits are really powerful. It gives a purpose to the creators. It makes them proud of showing their work. We had a group of vets that were it was just incredible. Our people, listen to me, our creators,
The family.
our
It's our
creators from Vision Services have created with us several times. Now, these are people that are either fully blind or partially blind, but just amazing masks that were created. So what we do for the certain population, we want to make sure that everybody can see the work. So they were able to touch. It was the first time they were in a museum where they were able to touch things. And that's how they were able to see their work, is by experiencing in that way. And that was really important to us.
I was emotional.
It was really powerful. And we've also, you know, translated a lot of the words that we share into Spanish. We want to make sure that, you know, all populations, as we can, you know, allow certain parts of that to be part of the exhibit. The one that was Carrie's brainstorm was the phones. Tell us about the phones, Carrie.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear about the phone?
I would, and I have to laugh because, you know, Maureen or Mojo was like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. And now she's like, tell us about that, Carrie. Oh, well, okay, then go right. I'm teasing you. Yeah.
Okay,
No, I don't want you to be quiet. I'm teasing you. I love it. But no, now I would love to hear about that.
No. I'll be anywhere and I'll hear her voice and she'll be saying, I'm really shy and an introvert.
Okay, go on.
So the phones are funny because we use dial phones, and for people to be able to pick up the phones, and the mask will be above it, will be hanging above it, and they can hear people's stories.
Oh
So
my gosh.
people will tell their story about the mask. And we like to say, you know, I don't know if my kids have ever seen a phone, but it's so old school, it's new school. So people really love the fact that they can pick up this cool, whatever it is, you know, they don't know what it is, thing, and they can listen to someone's story. And so we've hot wired these phones that are, it's a really cool part of the installation.
Yeah, and we you know, we'll have Braille there so that the vision impaired can read the story, or they can feel the mask in front of them so they can participate as well.
Absolutely. I love that idea. I think that is fantastic. This is not on the same line, but I'm just going to share it because have you ever heard of wind phones?
Maybe.
This is a friend of mine who's into like history and all that, and she does a cemetery tour where they do these different kinds of performances. She's the one that told me it's actually started by a man in Japan, but it's old phones that are in a cemetery, and the idea is to pick them up and just talk to a loved one.
Oh, I have heard things like that, but not in a cemetery.
Wow.
I love that. That's powerful.
Yeah, just to
Wow.
like just pick it up and talk to your loved one. But not that it's the same thing, but it made me think of that, those old phones.
But that is powerful in and of itself. Yeah.
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 Wow. Love that.
So tell me, Maureen, like with your obviously, like to your point, Carrie, you mentioned people see the masks and they want to talk because they are beautiful, they're interesting. Even if you're someone who doesn't quote unquote appreciate art, you're going to be like, well, what's this all about? Do you ever find yourself with your story, Maureen? Obviously you don't need to share it with anyone you don't want to share it with, or if you're not in the mood that day, do you ever get fatigued sharing your story, or is it just a matter of how you feel and you're like, well, I'm not going to talk about this today?
Oh no, I'll talk about my story as often as I can. Every chance I have, the shy me will come out. But the truth is, for me, it is part of my healing and therapy to be able to, talk openly about Patrick. It's just so great. So many people don't do that, and I think bottling it up is so much harder than allowing that story to be shown. Now, Carrie and I have spoken about the vessels that we are, because in our program we also like to have a writing component. So after our creators have designed their work, we give them the opportunity to share and explain the work in words. So at the end of the day, Carrie and I will be driving back from wherever we are, and this is all anonymous. No one's name is ever shared, or the stories that connected with it, whatever. It's never shared. But Carrie and I will share them. And to be honest, we feel like we are these vessels that are holding these beautiful stories. And yeah, so as far as myself, I can honestly say I never grow tired of it. I really don't at all. But thank you for asking.
Okay.
And
Well, and I'm sure it's different. I'm sorry, Carrie. I was gonna say, I'm sure it's different for everyone. Not everyone might feel the way you feel, but this works for you, which I think obviously that helps a lot of people to hear the story and to be able to be welcome to talk their story. Yeah.
That's what our hope
Yeah.
is.
I mean,
That's
two things. I think one, with Mojo sharing her story, people really gravitate towards her and want to talk about their story. And it's really beautiful. And she has this sensitivity, that, if you've never been there, you don't know what it's like. So she's able to offer that solace, which is really beautiful. She really is such a beautiful person.
Thank you.
The second thing is, I just think that, it gives people a chance to like say, okay, if she can be vulnerable, maybe I can. And we've seen it time and time again where sometimes in these workshops, it's the first time they've ever spoken about something that is real, they're really struggling with. And we're not therapists, Janine, let us make that clear.
Very clear.
We're not clinicians, we're not therapists. We often have counselors in our workshops because they want to be there and make a mess, but also to provide an outlet for students if they need it. We've never had, a situation, but I do think it is important for people to understand that you can be vulnerable and you can talk about it, and that there are resources to help you.
Yeah. And I would imagine too, I'm sure you see this a lot too, the folks who maybe do wear the mask so much, or maybe they have a shell because they're tough guys or tough gals, whatever, they would maybe never think that this is going to lead to a conversation or whatever. But then in the expression, it kind of opens something up, and now they suddenly can talk about things.
I just heard a report last night that people in agriculture, their suicide rate is now 3 times higher than what it has been because of what they're struggling with. And there's often, and it's usually white middle-aged men that just feel like they can't be vulnerable, but they feel like they're letting down generations upon generations of family, and they don't have anyone to turn to. So they're trying to really create these support groups. And, honestly, as you know, you work for NAMI, there's not enough resources out there
Yes.
to get that message out there. So, yeah, so anything we can do. That's why we say we're not therapists, we're not clinicians. We are just like another tool. We're another tool to help people to talk about what they're going through, or to give them an outlet, or to just increase that conversation in our communities.
Yeah, I think that's so key. That's so important. So would you do, I mean, obviously you probably stick within traveling distance of Pennsylvania, but I'm just thinking selfishly, I'm in Scranton. Would you ever come to Scranton?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Now I have to find an organization. We're going to make this happen.
No.
York County. We were in New York City.
Yeah.
We did a workshop there with 90 students. Yeah.
If there's an Airbnb to have,
Yes.
we're
We've
there.
seen it
It's
all.
no problem.
We are an expert. Yeah.
That's wonderful. I love that. I totally love that. Can I switch gears for a second? Although I don't want to, if there's more that you wanted to share about and we can come back to that, because I'm going to share the link to the website and to mention about following on Instagram. But I'm curious about your own art interests or influences. I have my coffee here. I have my Van Gogh mug here, because that's, and I mean, and talking about mental health, my gosh, right there. But what are some of your influences? Maybe not even influences, just artists or types of art that you admire or just are moved by.
I love that. Do you want me to go
I
first?
do, please.
Okay. Let me think who would be my most powerful. Yo-Yo Kusama uses art. Do you know Yo-Yo Kusama?
I don't, but I'm going to be Googling.
Okay, please do. She's an incredible artist, and why I bring her up is because she is one of the first women to really become influential in the art world. And all of her art is based on everything that she has experienced through her own mental health. And so look her up. She's all about what polka dots, what she's hallucinated. Her art is amazing and incredible. The other person that I influenced me greatly is Merle Lauderman Euclides. And I can tell you, she's very much a community engaged artist. Look her up. Look her up. Yeah. Everyone should know about her. One of her most famous projects had to do with sanitation workers in New York City, and how we don't value sanitation workers, and yet they're the people that keep our cities going. They're the people that keep it clean, and yet they're the people who are, called names or denounced or bullied or not respected. And she went around for a full year and she shook everyone's hands and documented every sanitation worker and thanked them for their service to the community. And then she also asked them to come up and say, hey, I want you to write down every name that you've been called or how you felt. And we're going to, in front of the entire community, we're going to erase that. And people are going to respect you. And she has changed the way people look at sanitation workers. And they made her an artist in residence. I think she's in her 90s now. But she did a billboard in Times Square during the pandemic that said, thank you forever, because they were the people who were still working during the pandemic. They were the people that kept the city going. And that has always resonated with me, the work that she's done. So I could go on and on.
It's a beautiful story, isn't it?
I love that. And I love, to me, that just is a powerful reminder, not that we need, because I think there's so many out there, of how much art is not just about looking pretty or looking at but it's changing society, making change. I think that's wonderful. And now the first woman you mentioned, I feel like now maybe I have heard of her. If the New York Times focused on her and she's like in her 80s. I just remember the polka dots.
Yes, yes, of course. Yeah.
Okay. Saw that on Instagram in the New York Times.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay.
Yep. Well, I would say that recently I've been working on some pain issues that I have. So I've been thinking a lot about Frida Kahlo, because Frida had, she'd been injured at a young age, and in her pain, she would lay down and paint canvases that were propped above her so that she could work through. It wasn't, I don't think, I never wrote a book that said she did it for her pain, but I know that it was therapeutic for her to be able to still do her art and through her pain. So right now, that's an artist that really means a lot to me. I talk to people about her and what she had achieved. And I think that once again, that's where these artists can empower you to look at art differently when you know those stories.
And can I just point out they're all 3 women?
Yes, I love that. Yes.
Yeah, we don't hear about women. When I took my first art history classes, there were no women. There were no women mentioned. Yes. So
part of the
Yeah. And yeah, you have me thinking, because I'm all about women empowerment. But of course, Van Gogh's stuff spoke to me, but he's very well known. And so many men, to your point, are well known. And I'm like, jeepers, why don't? Of course, I heard of Frida Kahlo and Georgia O'Keeffe, and but like there are not as many women that are household names, or like so many other fields. I mean, we know this, right?
Sure.
We've done that exercise in our classes. Name five famous artists. And then they'll mention all men, and then we'll say name a famous woman artist. Can't do it.
Yeah.
Maybe Mary Cassatt.
I was just gonna say her. She's from Philadelphia, I believe, right? Yeah. She's the one that Cassatt. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, we need to change that, obviously. And you are doing that, which I think is fantastic.
We try.
Tell me what's in store. Do you have any vision of what else you'd like to do going forward with this project?
Funny you should ask.
It is. So
we have spent the last 5 years going across the state and saying we were going to culminate in an exhibit at Susquehanna Art Museum. And that was going to be the finale of all the masks that we created across the state. And we accomplished that. In 2024, we had an amazing, I thought it was amazing, but it's the work of all of our community members. So I can say that 1,200 masks that were displayed at Susquehanna Art Museum, along with this video stories, along
portraits, very powerful portraits.
It was really powerful. And we thought that would be it. And then Janine, unfortunately, but if we can be there, the demand just kept coming in for workshops, for residencies, for alternative ways of having people talk about mental health. And so we spent the next year, really working our tails off. We don't stop going across the state and working, with as many people as we could. And we finally just said, okay, we had, I've gone through the not-for-profit world before, but we said, we really need to become a 501c3, and we need to grow this so that this can be an outlet for lots of people. So that is what we're doing right now. We are already booked all the way through, just about 2026.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. No, the need is out there, and if we can help a little bit. So we are heavy into, just making it happen right now. So that we have had generous fiscal sponsors across the state wherever we are. But now, so that we can raise the funds, because clearly our communities are telling us, hey, there's a need. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so I won't see you in 2026. I guess I have to get started on 2027.
We'll see if we can.
And I know you can respect this. We take care of each other. We say we need to take a break, or
yes,
our families. Carrie's a 3-time grandma, and I've got 2 daughters. My husband just retired, so we want to make sure we take care of ourselves as well.
Yes.
So we do think about that, but with our new status, I mean, the sky's the limit really on what we can do with.
Yeah, it's always been, and to your point, what's the next step? It's always just been the 2 of us.
Right.
So how can we empower other artists to do what we're doing?
Yes.
We've never said it has to be us.
Right.
it's more, how can you be a steward to do this as an artist in your community? So that is really where we see it going, which would be fabulous.
Yeah.
I love that idea. Yeah, and honestly, you bring up a really good point, both of you, about that those boundaries. They have to be in place. So you're not the ones, I'm fine, right? You have to walk the walk, or talk. I always hated that saying because I don't know what the hell I'm saying, walk the talk. But you need to take care of yourselves. And because as I was listening to it, I'm thinking, boy, you are both busy women, but you have to have that balance, because otherwise, you're going to have that burnout or whatever, and you need to take care of yourselves for sure. Yeah.
And luckily we like each
Yeah, we
other.
get
So
along.
I can tell. I love that.
so
So that works.
we do. We bounce things off of one another. Honestly, what it's taught me is that you never know what someone's going through. We'll read some of the cards after a workshop, and we'll just look at each other and say, I never saw that coming.
Right.
Never. And you just don't know what someone's going through. So, yeah.
We want to keep, we
We
want to
wanna-
keep helping and learning and
Yeah.
teaching and empowering people as much as we can. That's where I'm Fine's going.
Yeah, that's fantastic. As I start to close up here, is there anything else you'd want to say as far as from the perspective of whether it's personally or through art? What would you like to see? What would your hope be to see change going forward? I mean, I guess resources. I mean, that's huge. And I don't know how we make that big of a shift, because that requires so much, right? So much change and systematic change. And, we need more resources, we need more money. But what else would you like to, or hope that you would see change in the coming years as far as mental health goes?
I can speak to that right away. What I have seen is we place such emphasis on physical fitness, and we don't deem mental fitness as something that we need to care for. It's just, it's just that thing that's out there. It's that thing you need to get over, or maybe you need to see someone, or but why don't we emphasize that earlier? Why don't we emphasize it as our kids are growing up to be able to express themselves? I mean, it's hard. Being human is really hard. And regulating your emotions from one place to the next, especially with social media, it's messy and it's hard. So, how is it that we can focus more on mental fitness? I was just talking to Mojo about this, how people run marathons, and they're amazing. They're amazing runners. But there are people that run just for healthy reasons, maybe a couple of miles a day, and we emphasize that. But with art, you have to be an artist in order to create art. It's never emphasized, hey, maybe that should be a part of your everyday life. Maybe that could contribute to both your mental and physical fitness. So we keep taking art away from our schools. I'm hoping that we can value it more moving forward. And we can put emphasis back on the arts as a really important factor in our overall health.
Yeah, very, very true.
I love that. Yeah.
And a short little note, I will just say I'd love to see people continue on focusing on kindness and empathy for one another, because I think that can take you a lot of places. Even we say to a lot of our, so at the end of our workshops, we'll say, now go out and ask a friend how they're doing, and really ask them, get it, make it a meaningful conversation. And if that's the only change that we can have happen, then that's important. That'll make a difference. So that's what I would like to see change.
Yeah, and that's so key. I think that's, just, how many times have we said through the years, like even when I used to, I work for myself now, but when I worked in a workplace, you'd walk, morning, how you doing? And it wasn't even like, it was the funniest thing, right? Because you didn't even really stick around to hear how you're doing, right? It's like, morning, how you doing? And so most people, my friends would tease me because I'd really answer, but other people, oh, good. And you keep going. I'm like, well, last night, and they're like, they're halfway up the elevator. They don't really care. But that is so key. I mean, we need to have, I'm one of those people that when I am out for a walk or whatever, I like saying morning. And I love engaging with strangers. And I know not everybody likes it. And sometimes they look at me like I have three heads, and I'm like, okay. But if they say, oh my gosh, aren't we lucky to have this weather? It's the end of October. Isn't it beautiful? and I know the research on that says that's valuable to us, even those little connections. So having more of those kind of caring and connecting as humans, I think is what we really need. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
agree.
much.
Yeah.
Thank
Mhm.
you.
Well, I have to point out here, I didn't get to show it, and that I have my mask.
Uh-huh.
It was a party mask I found at some kind of a flea market and added the little thing to it, and I framed it just because I like the mask. So I didn't make it, but I do like it.
Well, I can't wait to see yours.
Yeah, we would.
I would
You'll
love
be
to.
creating one. Yeah.
I would love to create one. That's fantastic. I love everything that you're both doing. I mean, art, it has a special place in my heart for sure, as a fan, as a creator. And for years I never thought of myself as an artist because I can't draw. I think of the can'ts. I can't this, I can't that. But lately I've leaned into it. I'm doing these doodles that I'm using because I do stand-up comedy, so they've got humor in them. Last year we worked in the community here. I started Restart Scranton, where we collected litter and we saved the cool stuff and we made upcycled art. So I'm a big fan of expression. You don't have to know all the techniques and have studied the arts to really just express yourself. So I love what you're both doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. And I know for sure that people who listen will be inspired and take a lot from it. Is there anything else that we didn't talk about that you're like, oh, like if like a half an hour or tonight when you're in the bubble bath, you'll go, oh, you know what I should have said? Is there anything that you could think of that you just wanted to mention that we just didn't talk about?
I'm laughing in the bubble bath.
I will say, I find we do have T-shirts that we sell online. Our website has a wealth of beautiful videos that I really encourage people to look at. That we were really fortunate to have a videographer from York that did some amazing videos. So all that is on our website, and it is really, like you said, the masks are interesting enough. But if you have a chance to look at our website, and maybe someday don a Nine Fine t-shirt, it would really be wonderful to see more people wearing them.
Yeah. And I did see those too. I was like, this is a great way to help support the with the t-shirts. But yeah, to look at the art, the masks, and to hear the stories, I think those are wonderful. I will definitely put the website in the show notes and as I promote the podcast so that people can see it. And I want to thank you, Maureen. Thank you, Carrie, so much for your time. This has been a really enjoyable conversation for me, and I know my listeners will enjoy it. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you in Scranton.
Oh, I hope so. I hope so. Well, to my listeners, I want to thank you for listening as always. As I like to say, if there's someone in your life who you think would be a good guest on the podcast, please let me know, reach out to me. Or if it's you, maybe, give yourself credit. Think about what you're doing. Maybe you want to share your story here. Just reach out to me if you would like to support these kinds of conversations. My podcast sponsorship packages are affordable, and they're more affordable than getting a latte every day out. Of course, I know we need to support those local coffee shops, but you can support conversations like these as well. So I want to thank you again so much. And as I say each week, I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart and the bottom of my wine glass.